Welcome, everybody, to another episode of 10 Things I Like here on the Severe MMA YouTube page. I am Spencer Kyte, your friendly neighborhood Spencer man, and today we are talking about UFC 286. From London's O2 Arena on Saturday, March 18th, headlined by the welterweight championship trilogy fight, immediate rematch, Leon Rocky Edwards versus Kamaru Usman, a fight card that, for me, features a number of intriguing matchups, a number of fighters that I'm really looking forward to see. And so we're going to dive right into it. Item number one, that immediate rematch. At UFC 278, Kamaru Usman was 60 seconds away from successfully defending his title again in a one-sided decision win over Leon Edwards. Going through and into that fifth round, the broadcast team, Dean Thomas, Joe Rogan, Daniel Cormier, all spoke about their belief that Leon Edwards was resigned to accepting his fate of losing a unanimous decision, thinking of that, framing it as he would take it as a moral victory. John Anik rightfully pushed back and said that is not the cloth from which he is cut, and Leon Edwards banged home a high kick that sent Kamaru Usman into the shadow realm, elevated him to the top of the welterweight division, gave him this opportunity to defend the title on Saturday. But it's one of those endings, it's one of those situations where there's more questions that we have going into this fight, I think, than we did maybe even going into that last fight. Because through 24 minutes, we had a pretty good idea of things. And this isn't to do the whole, like, you're not a champion until you defend it, because I don't like that idea. You go out and win a belt, you're a champion. Nobody's taking that away from you. Matt Serra is over my shoulder there. Sure, he didn't hold on to the belt very long, but you know what? He beat George St. Pierre. He was UFC welterweight champion. Can't take that from him. Leon Edwards is the UFC welterweight champion. You cannot take that from him. He is undefeated in his last 10 fights. As I always say, you don't go that long without losing, and you don't get through a fight like that in Salt Lake City and come out the other end if you are not skilled, if you are not talented, if you are not elite. And he is very much elite. But we do have questions. As I said yesterday, the lingering impact of that knockout is the thing that hovers over this fight. How does it impact Kamaru Usman? How does Leon Edwards build off of it, carrying the confidence of, I can knock this man out if I land my shot? I can knock this guy out. What does it do? The fact that we're running it back, I was going to say as quickly as we are, it's been kind of 8 months, but this is the timeline. This is the window that we got. This made sense, and we'll get to that in a second. The fact that we're doing it back to back, we didn't have anybody come in, nothing happened, there was no injuries. We're able to get right back in there and get these guys into rounds 11, and we'll see how many more, possibly 15 in this rivalry. It's an important fight for both guys. There's a lot on the line for both of these men on Saturday night, and I am fascinated to see how it plays out. Item number two, Edwards' homecoming. I love the fact that this is in London. I love that the UFC did the right thing and said, you know what, we go to London every March. We've got a British champion. We're just bringing another pay-per-view. We're doing it as a pay-per-view because Edwards this fight deserves to be the main event of a pay-per-view show. And I think this is the opportunity. This is the way that you build athletes. You showcase these athletes. We saw it. We haven't seen a fight like this with a hometown champion, to my memory, to my recollection, since Stipe Miocic in Cleveland. And he got a massive reception in a town that isn't known as a fight town, for a guy that isn't a great big personality, that isn't out here, all up on the Instagrams, all up on the Twitter, any of that stuff. Quiet, goofy, awkward Stipe got a hero's welcome. And I think Leon Edwards is going to get a big roar on Saturday night in London. Now, it's not Birmingham, obviously, where he's from, but there is that British allegiance. There is that UK allegiance that we will feel. And it's, to me, good on the UFC for doing it this way, for giving him the home game. I certainly like seeing champions like Islam Makhachev say, hey, I'll go over to Perth and I'll fight Alexander Volkanovski on his continent in his backyard. Again, not necessarily apples to apples backyard wise. Volkanovski not being from Perth, but same idea. But I love getting to see champions defend their titles at home. We see it every time one of these athletes from outside of the United States wins a belt and brings that title home. We saw it very recently with Alexa Grasso, returns to Mexico, heroes welcome. We saw it with Yuri Prochazka last summer, wins the title, goes back to his hometown in the Czech Republic. Massive recognition. We've seen it at times in the United States. Holly Holm got a massive parade party get together in Albuquerque after she knocked off Ronda Rousey. But that's a community that A, has really surrounded its fighters from the get-go, and B, Holly is a very established, entrenched member of that community. And so that's a little different. I think this is an opportunity to really showcase Leon Edwards. This is a chance for him to, if he's able to win this fight, if he's able to defend this title, this could be a star-making opportunity for him. We get to see the personality. We get to see the fans behind him, the support for him. And then to defend that title on home soil successfully would be a huge moment. So I'm glad the UFC is doing this. I'm glad London is getting a pay-per-view. We're going to see how it plays out on Saturday. Item number 3, an unquestioned banger in the co-main event. Justin Gaethje is never in boring fights. Rafael Fiziev is never in boring fights. Now we're putting them together and it's like peanut butter and chocolate. It's like peanut butter and jelly. There's no way this isn't delicious. There's no way this isn't good. There's no way this isn't amazing. And I say that, I'm going to knock on some wood here just in case. But like, these two dudes are going to get in there, and inside of 30 seconds, we're going to know that this is going to be the banger that we are expecting. This is going to be a car crash of a fight in all the best ways. Now, I have my questions, as I pointed out yesterday on one question, about how long Gaethje can keep doing the Justin Gaethje thing, about when that damage, when that mileage starts to pile up and show. So far, it hasn't been the case, although he did get knocked down and eventually submitted by Charles Oliveira in the first round the last time we saw him. Fiziev's going to come out and bang with him. Neither of these guys is all that keen on taking a backward step. They want to come forward. They want to throw. They want to get into a fist fight. And we get to benefit from that on Saturday. Item number 4, Casey O'Neill returns. Prior to her injury, Casey O'Neill was the rising star in the flyweight division, ahead of the rest of the young pack. That includes Macy Barber, Miranda Maverick. Natalia Silva wasn't even on the radar, and Erin Blanchfield was, but wasn't where she is now. Those things have changed. Casey O'Neill's been out for just over a year since her last win over Roxanne Modafferi, dealing with a knee injury, finally returns this weekend against Jen Maya in a main card fight in a very critical matchup, in a fight that's going to tell us everything we need to know about where Casey O'Neill is at right now and what her ceiling going forward, how much further up the line we can project her to go within the next, let's say, 12 to 18 months. I'm just happy she's back. She's one of those fighters that had that momentum. That there are times when you do this, when you cover this sport, when you watch these athletes, as long as I have, as frequently as I do, that you can just feel things about athletes. And she was one of those people that had that feel of, she's just going to keep climbing forward. This is going to be one of those things where she just keeps winning these fights and beating these people. Each tough test, she's going to show that she's ready for it and she's capable of it. And that got interrupted by an injury, and that's unfortunate. And I just want to see, I'm curious to see, I'm excited to see what she looks like this weekend. As I said, it's a tough test in Jennifer Maia. Durable, veteran hand, been in there with Valentina Shevchenko, won a round from Valentina Shevchenko when that was a thing that we all used to get excited about. Is basically that gatekeeper, that litmus test. If you want to be a contender, this is the fight Casey O'Neill needs to win. And so I want to see if she can come out and sort of rekindle that spark for me of, yeah, this is somebody that's just going to going to keep moving forward because this division is on fire. It is front and center on the female side of things and in the UFC in general. We just had Alexa Grasso ascend to the throne. We had Erin Blanchfield a couple weeks before that state her case as a contender. We have Manon Fiorot coming back in the summer. We have Macy Barber and Miranda Maverick and Natalia Silva all still on the rise. And now we put Casey O'Neill back into it. So I want to see if she can reignite that momentum and sort of rekindle that spark of this is somebody that's going to be a problem very soon. And I think this is the right fight to see if she can do that. Item number 5, Roman Dolidze gets a step up. Talked about it yesterday that middleweight needs somebody, needs a new name. And can Roman Dolidze be that guy? I'm very excited about this. I think Dolidze is someone, and listen, I admit to it, I underrated him going into the fights with Kyle Dawkins, going into the fight with Phil Haas, with Jack Hermanson. This is a guy that I think has a lot more than we give him credit for. He's a much, much more dangerous, much more capable, very intriguing fighter to me. ADCC, Oceanic, and Asia champion back in 2017. Competed at the ADCCs, went out in the first round, but still got there. That's an important step. We see the grappling last time out against Jack Hermanson. We've seen the power in those wins over Dawkins and Haas. Big, burly guy, used to fight up at 205, could still do it if called upon. I've asked him that myself. He said so himself. And now he gets Marvin Vettori on Saturday. And Marvin Vettori, I said Jennifer Maia is the gatekeeper. Marvin Vettori is like, if Jennifer Maia is the bouncer at the front door that decides whether you're allowed in the club, Marvin Vettori is the guy at the velvet rope at the VIP with the clipboard there in the middleweight division. And you got to beat Marvin Vettori to be a contender. And nobody has beaten Marvin Vettori in the last 4 or 5 years outside of Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker. Those are 2 amazing talents. 2 of the 3 best talents in the middleweight division. And so we know going in what this would mean for Roman Dolidze. We know what a victory here would mean, where it would put him, what it would suggest for him next in this division. And I can't wait to find out whether he can pass this test. Because beating Jack Hermanson on short notice, taking that fight, jumping in, I said at the time, this is the absolute right move for Dolidze. It is all upside, and he maximized it. Now it's full camp. Now it's a guy that is proven, has been up at the top of the division, is entrenched in the top 5. Can Dolidze get there? Can he go through and earn a 5th straight victory and a 4th straight really good win that resonates, that carries some weight? Can he finish? That would be incredible, right? Izzy and Robert Whittaker weren't able to finish Marvin Vettori. They won clear decisions, I think, in all 3 cases. This is a big fight for the big burly Georgian. I'm looking forward to it. Item 6, more from Muhammad Mokaev. I said it yesterday. I spoke to him coming into this event. Like, Mo is one of the absolute best prospects in the UFC, in the sport in general. And any chance I get to see this kid compete, I'm very much locked in for it. He's 22 years old, and he's already ranked in the top 15. He has aspirations to chase down John Jones's record, and every young fighter that has a chance to do it speaks about wanting to do it. He's one of the few, him, Raul Rojas, they're the 2 that kind of feel like the guys that have the opportunity. And Rojas, as I've said from the get-go, right now it's just because he has 5 years, 18-year-old. Mo's got about a year. Seems possible the way he's been going. Undefeated through an amateur career, undefeated, won no contest as a pro, gets Jafel Filo on Saturday in a very winnable fight, in a fight that if he is, as I said yesterday, if he is locked in the way that he said he would be locked in when I spoke to him, this is a statement performance. This is a get me a top 10 opponent, if not a top 5 opponent next. And let me really show you how good I am. And I think the UFC might be just starting to get to a little point where they want to see some of these younger talents get those opportunities just a little bit earlier, right? Erin Blanchfield becomes intriguing. Brandon Moreno is the only champion, or was prior to Alexa Grasso, though I do think Alexa Grasso is over 30 years old. I can't remember offhand. I'll pull up the phone and check that out. But Brandon Moreno was, at the start of the year when he won the title, the only champion under 30. And I think there's a little bit of, it wouldn't be bad if we got some young talent out here, if we got some younger talent out here. For the record, Alexa Grasso, 29 years old. So she and Brandon Moreno, as of right now, the only two champions under age of 30. I think the UFC is interested in seeing some of this young talent and giving them some opportunities. Mokaev wants one. Aaron Blanchfield wanted one earlier this year. And so if he goes out and smashes Jafel Filo, as I think he will, give him a big shot. Give him a step up. Item number 7. Welcome back, Lerone Murphy. We've missed you. The Miracle returns against short notice opponent Gabriel Santos on Saturday. It is his first fight since my birthday in 2021, UFC 267 in Abu Dhabi, October 30th, for all of you that want to pencil that into your calendars and send gift cards and presents and well wishes. Please do so. You know where to find me on Twitter or Instagram at Spencer Kyte. Murphy is one of those guys that is kind of slept on, kind of underrated, kind of a little bit unknown, under the radar really, in this division, because he hasn't fought as regularly, because he's been out for well over a year, because he's quiet. He's not somebody that, again, is out here really in the media world of things, just handles his business in a lot of ways. And I know this is a very easy comparison, but in a lot of ways, he does remind me, and rightfully gets the comparison, to Leon Edwards. Just a guy that wants to handle his business, that came through some difficult times coming up, got into MMA, and it's translated well. He's undefeated in his pro career. He's won 4 straight in the UFC. This is a guy that I think, and Harry talked to him prior to this fight. Find that on the website. I think that if he wins this fight, we hear a call out, we see him want to get back, and that's going to be the biggest thing. As I said yesterday, as I questioned yesterday, I think he maybe missed his window because he's 31 now, and there's a lot of people in this division that are younger than him, that have ascended beyond him. But I would bet you if he wins this fight on Saturday, and especially if he wins it handily, one of those young names goes into his sights and comes out of his mouth. Whether that's Ilia Topuria, Bryce Mitchell, Movsar Evloev, someone in that range, I think he calls somebody out. My preference, I said it on the preview show that we recorded a little earlier, I would say Dan Ige. That's the guy I'd take aim at. Guy that's headlined UFC events in the past. Veteran name. Everybody knows how good he is. Everybody knows how talented you have to be to beat Dan Ige. I think it's a fight that Dan Ige would happily accept. But I'm just happy to see Lerone Murphy back. It's been too long. He is too good of a fighter to not compete regularly. Crazily, this is his first UFC appearance that isn't in Abu Dhabi, or his first appearance in like 4 that isn't in Abu Dhabi. It's wild. Welcome back. Item number 8, Christian Leroy Duncan's debut. As I said yesterday, I'm trying not to get too excited. I'm trying not to allow myself to get too excited, but it's tough because everything you see and everything you read and everything you look at about this man screams really talented prospect in a division that can really use a talented prospect. 27 years old, he'll turn 28 this summer. He's 7-0 as a pro, former Cage Warriors champion, won and defended the title last year. But I think saying that he's 7-0 sort of undersells things. It sort of buries the lead, really. Because the fact of the matter is that Christian Leroy Duncan had 23 amateur fights. So it's a little bit like Muhammad Mokaev, where sure, the pro record is less than 10 fights, but the cumulative record is 30 fights. And he's only lost a couple of those. And they were losses as amateur when you're supposed to lose. That's what amateur careers are for. To learn, to make mistakes, to grow, to develop, to figure out who you are as an athlete so that when you do get in there as a pro, you can look the way that he has looked through his Cage Warriors run, where he doesn't look like a guy that's had 7 fights, that is still trying to figure things out. He looks like a guy that knows exactly who he is as a competitor, knows what he's capable of doing, is confident in everything that he throws. He gets Duško Todorovic on Saturday in a fight that should be, again, knock on wood, should be a statement opportunity for the former Cage Warriors champion. I'm excited for this one. I'm trying to keep it contained, trying my best. It's like the Tatiana Suarez fight a couple of weeks ago. I just want to see him get out there, get his hand raised, get moving forward before I allow myself to get all the way fired up. But I'm partway fired up. Welcome to the UFC, Christian Leroy Duncan. It's good to have you here. Item number 9, Jake Hadley is back in action. So Jake Hadley was my fighter to watch going into his UFC debut against Alan Nascimento, and he got dominated by the Brazilian, which isn't a thing that Hadley or anyone should hang their head at. Excuse me. Alan Nascimento is a very good grappler, a very good fighter, and somebody that I think we will hear from more in this division going forward. He got back on the right side of things, back into the win column with a very good performance against Carlos Candelario in his second appearance last year, and he gets Malcolm Gordon this weekend in a fight that we all agreed on the preview show, and I talked about yesterday on One Question, has the chance to be a bit of a statement here for Jake Hadley, who is still young, who did very well on the Cage Warriors circuit, winning their title before coming over to the Contender Series and having a little bit, the 2 fights before the Carlos Candelario win were a little rocky. There were just things that didn't quite go right? We heard at Contender Series, he missed weight. There was some tension backstage with some staff members. Maybe some things were said. We're not quite sure. He rubbed some people the wrong way. Then he loses the debut. I think it's actually probably good because it's taken a little bit of the spotlight off him. It's given him a chance to reset just a little bit, just to back off a little bit. Got to eat a little bit of that humble pie. You can't be going around MFing everybody and giving everybody the finger when you get beat in your debut, right? Can't walk around with your chest puffed out quite as far when you get dominated in your debut and you have no answers in your debut. But this is a chance if he goes out and dominates Malcolm Gordon, for him to look at Muhammad Mokaev, who will be in the back, getting ready for his own fight, and say, listen, mate, I just beat this guy quicker than you did. Handled him without issue, unlike you. You guys want to celebrate him? Fine. I'm here too. This is my coming out party. I'm somebody to still pay attention to in this division. Because I think Jake Hadley has a little bit of that grit, sandpaper, moxie that is going to draw people to him. And this could be the moment that jumps off. Put him in front of a British crowd. Give him an opportunity to get a dominant performance. And let's see what we got. Item number 10, Juliana Miller's first post-tough appearance. She takes on Veronica Hardy, formerly Veronica Macedo, in the opener on Saturday's card. And Juju is just one of those fighters. She is the perfect representation of a fighter that I just want to wait and watch, right? She's 26 years old. She's got 4 pro fights. She showed some good things in the house on The Ultimate Fighter and in that finale win over Brogan Walker. A little bit of durability, a little bit of sandpaper, a little bit of toughness, tenacity. She's figuring out who she is as a fighter. It's not clean technique. It's not precise, but she's effective and she's getting better. And a fighter like that is somebody I'm always going to be interested in, especially when they're 26 years old. Comes from a good gym with Team Hurricane, awesome out in San Diego. Just want to see what it's like. This is a good fight. It's the perfect matchup for her to get really started in the UFC. Macedo hasn't fought in a couple of years. Veronica Hardy hasn't fought in a couple of years. She is 1-4 in the UFC. She will certainly be better than the last time we saw her, would be my assumption. But we just don't know who she is, where she fits overall in the big spectrum of things. I would expect Juliana Miller to win this fight, but it's a good measuring stick. It's a good chance just to get a read on where Juju's at, see how she does, and then figure out from there where we can maybe start projecting her. This is a great card. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope this has increased your interest, gotten you a little more excited for it. If it has, let us know. Appreciate you tuning in. We will be back tomorrow with the Severe Picks and Plays, coming off of winning week last weekend for UFC Las Vegas. Hoping to do it again this week. Until then,